What is going on, guys, and welcome back to another spoiler recap here at Big Gold Belt Media. I'm Cam, it's Damian G. We're going to go ahead and take a look at Tokyo Vice Season 2, Episode 6 on Max. These episodes just keep getting crazier and crazier at this point. What was your first reaction when you were watching the first couple scenes of this episode?
Well, for me, it was like, okay, are they going to keep my man Ishida alive? Because I thought he was dead on arrival. So the fact that
that's what I thought too.
The first 5 minutes is him still alive, fighting for his life. So I'm thinking, oh, is Ishida going to make it? Like, okay, because, Sato earlier this season, he made it out the hospital when they dragged him back. So in those first 5 minutes, I'm thinking, oh shit, Ishida's still alive. Okay, this is good. But this episode took a whole bunch of twists and turns, more so than any other episode so far this season, in my opinion.
It definitely did. And I think the first thing that we got to see actually right before they gave us the whole trying to rush to the hospital and save, it was a flashback, right? To young Sato basically being initiated or basically coming to a younger version of Ishida to be like, hey, I want to offer my services. I want to be a part of this. I don't have a family. My family put me out. And there's one thing that he said in there is that he said, well, if you left your family, what makes you think, or what makes me believe that you're going to stay with me and be loyal to me? And he said, well, I didn't choose my family, but I'm choosing you though, to Ishida. So I was like, oh, okay. I was like, that's pretty clever for you to say, as a young man too. But I think it was a pretty powerful scene because I think he actually looked at the pendant behind Ishida, who's a Kai Burn, and was looking at it like, okay, this is see all be all, you know what I'm saying? This is what I'm going to be loyal to for the rest of my life. And at that time, he was fully committed. But now, Sato was having some second thoughts of maybe 10, 15 years down the road. And I don't blame him, to be honest with you. Either. Just seeing them in that car ride and trying to get to, I guess, to skip over the hospital, because of course they didn't want to go to the hospital because, like,
cops
we all know. Yeah, exactly. The cops are going to be there. It's going to be a lot more questions. And of course, I don't think the Chihara-kai actually want people to know, that their main leader has either been killed or hurt, because that probably makes them look weak. And then, it's just before another gang comes over and it's like, you know what? Who we know is probably Tozawa. You'd be the first one to pounce on somebody down and be like, all right, all y'all stuff that you run, it's mine now. But I think it was super, super crazy episode. And within that first 5 minutes, they gave us a lot of twists and turns, answered a lot of questions that we had towards the end of episode 5. But still, gave us new context between the characters that I thought really delivered a good point. There was a moment, I guess, where after the whole entire shooting, Samantha goes to the police station and give her statement, right? And who walks in? Tozawa's ass. And I'm like, what is he doing here, right? I'm like, why is he so open freely? All the other gangs are hiding. So except why does he feel? Yeah, except him. Why does he feel so powerful that he can just walk into the police station and just hunky dory? You know what? I just want to talk to y'all and let you know. I'm gonna do better. Basically, what he said. He's like, I'm gonna do better.
I ain't running,
guy. And I don't know. What did you think about the ballsiness, I will say, of Tozawa and his aspirations for the future right now?
Look, if we're going off of the last episode, this is now par for the course for Tozawa. Since he wants to go above and beyond just being Yakuza, he wants to rule everything, apparently, in Tokyo. So he knows he's going to be the first suspect in this whole thing with Ishida. So he's like, all right, let me just roll up on the police station and just let y'all know where I was with this Olive Garden family photo that he submits to the police.
And I was like, are these photos time stamped? I'm hoping they're time stamped, because I'm like,
did they have those back in 1994, 1999?
I think they had them on the side, right, on the corner, or either in the back. So I'm like, this is the only way he can prove. I'm pretty sure people had video cameras on the large hunky versions, but he was like, well, this is the best thing I can give you, because I know y'all gonna be coming to me first. So I'm gonna just go and get a head of the ball right now.
Me and my men were having dinner and shit. Like, okay, all right.
Yeah, like, all right, you don't have no other men. Like, this is all you got, basically.
That's your whole family, right?
Full
That's
lineup,
what I thought.
full lineup. I love the Olive Garden reference because yeah, good old Olive Garden. And then I guess we get to cut to a scene where we get to see the Chihara-kai trying to actually figure out what to do next. I mean, Sato seems to be like mainly in the forefront of the whole mourning process for Ashita. Everyone else seems kind of stern and kind of just cold, you know. I mean, he don't give a damn. Let's be honest.
I hate him, bro.
Yeah, he is the worst character. I think we talked about this backstage, and he is the worst character on this show. We thought we hated Jake. No. What would you say? Where's your balance right here? Are you more less Hayama, more Jake? Which one would you rather have in your life?
So the vitriol I have after this episode is Hayama's above Jake. Now Jake's just stupid. Yeah, I hate Hayama. Like, I don't want Jake to die. I just want him to get some sort of comeuppance, but I want Hayama to die.
Yeah, he gotta go.
Yeah, I want Sato to kill Hayama for real.
Yeah, there aren't many characters in this world that make me feel like this, but this actor has completely conveyed the portrayal of Hayama and made me feel like this dude's worse than dirt on earth, honestly, because he cares about only the gain of himself, not the remorse or the care of others. And literally Sato earlier in the last episode went to him, did him a favor, right? Did him a solid and said, all I want you to do is just stay away from my brother, right?
Simple.
What does he do? Completely disregard that. And come to find out, Kaito has been basically hiding out in school. He's got like scars on his face from, I guess, fighting. Bandages on his face from fighting. And I mean, a little bit before this, just to rewind a little bit, Katagiri actually came to them at, I guess, their temple or their place of organization and said, there's going to be no war. There's going to be no retaliation. I'm taking over this whole entire process and investigation. So don't go out in the streets and try to get revenge for this because we will bust you. Hayama, obviously being Hayama, disregards what anyone says. I mean, except for himself and what he thinks is right. And he grabs Kaito, who's Sato's younger brother, from school, and says, he lies to him and says that Tozawa is actually going to go after Sato next. The kid is gullible, okay? He's young, he's full of emotion. He wants to prove himself. He wants to be just like his brother, to be honest with you. So do you think that at some point Kaito would have said, you know what, I'm gonna reach out to my brother and maybe like figure out what's going on? Or why do you think he trusts Hayama so much? Like, I don't get it.
Because Hayama's the only one that wants to let him into the light. Because his Sato knows better. Sato's telling him, you don't want none of this. Trust me on that. But Kaito, for whatever reason, sees the money, sees the power, and also to spend more time with his brother. At least that's what I want to hope.
Right.
But he's being seduced by a slick talking Yakuza. And just like you say, he's gullible. He's naive. So he wants to do so much. And it almost leads to his downfall.
Yeah, it actually kind of reminds me of seeing the younger version of Sato in this episode, because the way their eyes light up when they hear like a mission or like, oh, okay, I'm about to be a part of something, seems very similar towards Kaito and younger Sato. And I'm just like, man, like, I mean, you can only be so mad at your brother for trying to prove himself to be just like you and following your footsteps, especially when he sees that it seems like you're better off with the position that you're in opposed to what he was doing, which in the long term probably would have been more beneficial and probably kept Kaito alive a lot longer at this point, as far as life expectancy going down the further road. But then we kind of cut back and we get to see that I think Masaki actually, matter of fact, Masaki shows up at
Tozawa's that woman's name. Don't bring that woman's name up, bro. We hate this girl already.
Gotta talk about her. Masaki, the most mischievous woman I've ever seen in my life. Okay, it's backwards. Just, I mean, I'm confused at this point of what she really wants. She shows up at Tozawa's house because I think the last thing she got promised was the house for her mom, right?
Yes, because they were gonna go the winter house, right?
Mm-hmm. Fooled herself. Matter of fact, because they were in the cabin together, right? Correct. And they was doing the do, and like having a conversation and stuff. And then she walks into Tozawa's house, and there's a younger woman who probably is in the same profession that she's in, if you guys know what I'm saying. And
professional mistress.
Professional mistress. And she asked for advice as to what Tozawa likes. And I'm like, uh-oh. I'm thinking like, I thought a threesome was gonna happen at this point, right? And then come to find out, I mean, he would do it. Let's be honest. Tozawa, come on now. Tozawa don't care. He would 2, 3, 4, 5. Who cares? But Tozawa sitting here, he's like, I don't know the other girl's name. I can't remember because she probably won't be a pivotal character. What was it? Sakura. So he comes to Sakura and he says, Sakura, come here. I need to talk to you. And then he looks at Masaki and says, you won't be needed tonight.
Shim Shim. I don't need you today.
Like,
Shim Shim
won't be needed tonight. So where does she got a night off? Like, where's she supposed to go? Like, go.
And we know where she went.
Yep. And we see in the next scene, we get to see exactly where Masaki sneaks off to, pops up at Jake's house. And we're like, no, Jake, don't do it. And I mean, because obviously Jake don't know what's going on. I think Jake honestly thinks she was like out in hiding somewhere, or just, she was getting out of the life is what she told him. And come to find out, she was very much recently in the life, if you know what I mean. So they are in the room.
They do what they do, man.
They do what they do. And I'm sitting here like, man, Jake you need to watch yourself out here. This is getting a little dicey as far as his life. Like,
this whole thing's been dicey, bro. This whole thing with Jake's been dicey.
Like, he need to either go to the doctor or either he gonna get killed. So I'm like, you got 2 different ways you can get taken out, brother, and you might want to just relax in the situation. But he's in love, so of course, his gears aren't turning correctly. They're going backwards when they should be going forward. But so we see that happen, and then as Masaki gets ready to leave Jake's house, I think she gives him like a little pendant or like a bracelet
to remember me by.
Right? I'll be back. That's how she keeps reeling them in, right? Giving them a little bit and then taking away everything. So she leaves. And of course, remind you, when she travels to go see Jake, she travels on her own. And then when you go outside, she sees that Tozawa's driver is waiting for her with the door open. What did you think when you saw that? Like, when you saw that driver outside, knowing that he's never around?
It's the same thing you and I said. She's going to get Paulina, just like at the beginning of this season. We got to say goodbye to Masaki because she about to get got. And I'd be surprised if she doesn't get killed.
I honestly would be surprised as well, because it just seems like what would be the next step, because Tozawa seems like he's all about loyalty at this point. And he's already got all his chips in order, and he's like, I don't need any wink links in my circle.
They mentioned that though. Tying up loose ends. They mentioned that.
Right. So I'm like, here we go. Masaki, you seem like you might be the weak link, and especially when you're sleeping with the press. That can't be good for business, right? I mean, all his secrets exposed at this point. So
I didn't even know about that.
Paulina is on the way, everybody. Okay. Last episode, Architect and Ashita. This one, Saki. I mean, we can't make this stuff up. This show just keeps getting crazier and crazier.
We almost lost Kaito. Because let's go back to Kaito real quick. Because Hayama seduces Kaito to go and kill Tozawa on behalf of his brother. And he, like you said, he's gullible, so he about that life. So what winds up happening? Sato gets wind of this. And is like, and he goes, and the reason why he gets wind of this is because he has his own dudes following what's his face? Following Hayama.
Right.
Yeah. And tell me the truth. When Hayama and Kaito were in that car and he leaned back, did you think he was gonna make him head?
Yeah, I did. I was like, oh my God. I was like, no. I'm like, bro, this dude is going too far. Like, he just
I straight up thought, because he went like, yes, he went lean back.
It's just a weird, he's just doing a weird stretch. And I was like, I don't like that. I would have to get out of the car. I'd be like, get up out of here. That's enough for me.
But Sato said his boys could tail him.
Took a turn.
I took a left turn in Albuquerque.
I took a left turn. I didn't want to go down that road.
But Sato sends his guys to spawn Hayama, and it turns and they find out, hey, he's got your brother. You might want to go see where he's going. Right. And Sato winds up intercepting Kaito at the spot that he was gonna go and try to assassinate Tozawa, which turns out it would have been a suicide mission because Hayama tells Kaito, "You got to make sure to get up close." Yeah, okay.
He did say that, didn't he?
Okay.
That was crazy. I'm like, he gave him a handgun. And the only thing he had on him, of course, it was the handgun. He didn't even, first off, he didn't even test out the handgun. Never shot a gun before. His ass could have had the safety on, okay? And been like, click, click. Gone. You're gone. Kaito, that's it. You get no more chances after that. They would have snatched you up. And then eventually would have got back to Hayama, you know what I'm saying? Because he would easily snitch. Let's be honest here. Like,
that's the whole point. Hayama set him up. That's he wanted him set up. So because he's a little gullible, little boy. So
and I thought it was crazy because it was like Sato got him in like split seconds, right? After looking at that web browser he left up, he was like, he booking it, and then he stops him like within seconds before running. And it's funny because Kaito was saying that he was like, "What were you gonna do?" Or Sato said to Kaito, "What were you gonna do? Like, you're just gonna run up on him?" He was like, "Yeah, I'm really fast." I'm like, "You're fast?" I'm like, that's the best you got, huh? I was like, "Yeah,
I'm fast."
You were about to die. You're about to die. Let's be honest here. So at this point, a lot of people are kind of pressuring Jake because this huge story about the club shooting is out now, and I think a couple people have been already. They've already said that Mashiato, I think it's Mashiato, right? Who's the architect?
Yes, the architect.
So they said they exposed his name, but then they were trying to figure out who were the other people. And of course, Jake had a little bit more information than most people because he is in connection with Samantha, who was at the club, as well as he knows Sato as well. The whole editor and the whole news community was trying to get wind of like, who is your source? And Jake wasn't trying to give it away. Didn't want to give it away. But due to the fact that Tintin was a close friend and he kind of threw it together, completely threw Samantha under the bus and exposed her name in the newspaper.
But you know why?
Why? Like, I mean, I understand. I mean, Tintin is trying. Tintin in the last 2 episodes has gotten really cutthroat. Yeah, he's tired of the crap and he wants to be on top at this point. Do you think this is going to kind of blow back to Samantha, like repercussion wise?
I mean, she's in the paper. She's trying to go incognito, right? So she sees that her name's tied to the shooting. So obviously she's going to be a bit of a marked woman because Tintin decided, yeah, this is the story. Forget your friendship, Jake, with this girl. She's the story. She's been tied to this. And man, Jake ran up in there, pissed, threw the newspaper at Tintin.
Threw a newspaper at the
man. Screaming, yelling. And Tintin had one of the best lines. He goes, "Not everything's about you, Jake." And I thought, you know what? You're right.
That's true. It's true. And literally that's what Jake does. He kind of made this whole situation about himself. And I think that's what got everything exposed, honestly, is that him, I think, drawing people a little in too close and thinking he thinks he's bulletproof, to be honest with you. And I guess that's a little bit of his, I don't want to say American arrogance, being over there as being the foreigner, thinking like, oh, I'm hot stuff. I'm in the paper. I'm doing all this. He thinks he feels like not above the law, but he feels like he's above any type of repercussions for things, which I think is crazy. And I'm like, dude, you write articles. These people are killing people. Like, you could easily be on an article tomorrow, And I think it's super dangerous, but it's the way he lives. And honestly, it's what sells and makes me keep watching it is the stupidity of Jake and what he keeps doing on a daily basis, which I think is crazy. But then I think Jake actually in the argument mentioned something that he didn't really mention out loud before. And he threw the name Tozawa out there as far as the lead that we should be following because this is the person that committed these murders, right? I mean, of course, he has a little bit of source and a little bit of information on it, but he doesn't have any like hard source.
No hard evidence.
Right. And to say that in a newsroom, it's kind of like, I mean, it is hearsay at the same time, but it can be kind of contradictory because you're supposed to use everything as far as a reference or a source or, from someone directly opposed to, people just gossiping. And
that's slander. That's considered slander.
Right. And I guess the chief editor who we suspected in the couple episodes ago to be honestly under the thumb of Tozawa, because I think what's her name, Emmy came to the chief editor and said, hey, we got an issue and we're trying to follow a lead as far as all these fires and murders that are going on. And it seemed like the editor was trying to keep it hush hush.
Yeah.
So when the editor comes back to MA privately and says, we need to follow this lead, no matter how small it is, we need to take Tozawa down. Were you shocked at that moment? Because I was surprised, right? How did you feel about that? Hearing him actually say those words?
You know what? We talked about this backstage, and it's actually a pretty good point of potentially having this man who we all thought was under the thumb of Tozawa kind of turn coat and say, hey, follow every single lead, potentially could lead to the fact that he wants to get out from under the thumb potentially of Tozawa, or the second part of that could be he was never the mole to begin with, which would lead me to believe the next person above Emmy, which was the guy, was the other editor-in-chief, the racist boss.
Right.
Like, I got this.
He was in the scene, right? In the background behind when they were having the argument. We just saw him arguing, he was like peeking over and stuff. I was like, he's up to something at this point.
Exactly.
And just to talk a little bit about Emma, Emma honestly is, she's embarking on new experiences in her life, right? So she's finally decided to take her boyfriend and introduce him to her brother, right? Who we talked about is obviously the man in the house right now. So I believe in Japanese culture, the man in the house has to approve a relationship before, pursuing it, because that seemed like what she was looking for, the approval of her brother, even though we know that the brother is suffering,
not the most reliable.
Yeah, not the most reliable, but it seems like he's struggling with some type of mental illness currently right now, but they just haven't said or kind of really put a thumb on what it is exactly. So, they're having dinner, they're talking, and the brother seems a little bit standoffish. I don't know if you felt that too, but he didn't seem very open to having a conversation. The table is like 4 feet by 4 feet. And I'm like, bro, your bowl's about to hit my bowl. Like, we got to at least talk to each other, right? I'm like, I'm gonna eat in this small proximity and we not talking to each other. That's just kind of strange. So I thought that was very awkward. But Emma tried to share information that, hey, he does work for the magazine that you actually do read articles about. And he gave it like a little small review. It was like, it wasn't bad. He didn't say like, hey, your articles suck. He was like, you do a couple articles that are pretty good. Yeah. So I guess he took it as a compliment, and he felt like the date went well. Guy leaves. Emma goes to her brother and talks about like, yeah, how'd you like him? And he completely just slanders the guy and talks about how bad of a person he is, and how he's probably gonna walk out on her, like, his and his the editor, and I'm not the editor, I'm sorry, the boyfriend and his previous wife didn't work out, right?
Yeah.
What's his name, Gino?
His name is Shingo.
So completely just slanders the whole integrity of Shingo and this whole entire conversation. And it ends with the brother kind of screaming on Emma. And I'm pretty sure at some of that point he said, close my damn door, right? And I'm pretty sure that was in there somewhere. It wasn't in the subtitles, but I knew what he was saying because she immediately shut that door. And I think you probably felt that too. But yeah, I think that was just so crazy. Just seeing how he reacted to it. And it kind of is probably going to deprive her from probably pursuing this relationship going further. Hopefully she just does her own thing. What do you think she's going to do? Like, you think she's going to be like, hey, we can't do this anymore? Or
honestly, yes, because I think her brother is, in her own words, there's a phrase I'm looking for. We're just going to say he's unstable, according to her, right? He requires a lot of care. So what if the brother, and I'm thinking forward thinking here, what if the brother decides to say, I'm gonna go off my meds if you keep seeing this man?
Yeah, that is true.
So that is something people on medication would tend to do. So being that he's the man of the house, I feel as if because she's his caretaker, she's gonna acquiesce.
Yeah. It does make sense, because at no point it seems like she will not be without her brother. Like, he's always going to be there. So for him not to like the person that you're with currently, how's that going to work? It's going to be pure hate in the house. And if he does go off the meds, what if he has like an episode and something happened? You know, like
awkward.
Who knows? And you see him with them cooking knives. Every time I see him with these cooking knives, right? I'm like, he about to take weekly newspaper guy out, right? And it didn't happen. At the dinner table, I thought I was going to be a cutscene and be like, boop, you know, just get him. And I'm like, this is too much. Like, this is too much going on. But yeah, there's a lot packed into this episode. I mean, there's a couple more things that we'll touch on here. So of course, Sato is at the point break where he's done with Hayama. Hayama does not care. He knows that he's an Auburn now. So for him, he is the chief, the leader. He is in charge of the Chihara-kai, and he's the predecessor to Ishida. So there's nothing Sato can do. We're pretty sure that in the moments where Ishida was dying in it's episode 5 and episode 6, he was telling Sato, I want you to be my predecessor, right? Nobody heard about Sato. The successor, sorry. To be a successor. So nobody
heard it.
Right.
Nobody heard it.
Don't matter. Like, how can he even prove that at this point? And
did Ishida not have a will? That's what I was wondering.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, there's got to be some type of paperwork. Is it just like transcribed by, okay, we know who's the second in command, or we know who's first ranked lieutenant in this group, so he obviously gonna get bumped up. What if somebody wanted it differently? You don't know. Like, people change their minds and they might change their opinion about people, like we saw Ishida do in the past season. But do you think we're gonna see Sato rise to the rank of Oberon, or do you think that's it? Like, he's officially gonna check out like we saw?
I think he's going to check out, but only because he wants to do it to protect the people he loves. Because as we see toward the end of the episode, Hayama's threatening Sato, saying, hey, you keep messing with my stuff, I'm going to kill everybody you love. So in true superhero fashion, our boy Sato saying goodbye to Erica's son. He goes to visit Samantha. He tells Jake, don't call me again. Like, he's just tying up those ends. I honestly think he's going to leave the life one way or another, either on his own or in a body bag, taking Hayama with him. I mean, that's where I'm leaning toward. I don't want it to happen because I want Sato to have a happy ending. But he's good. I just have this nagging suspicion at the end of this season, we're going to have it out between Hayama and Sato, and they're both going to take each other out.
God, that'd be terrible. Poetic, but terrible.
And probably because Sato's trying to save Kaito's bitch ass at the last minute.
That's what it is, man. It's all about Kaito, bro. And he is getting in the way. Go back to school, Kaito. Okay? If Kaito would go back to school, everything would be okay. Like, honestly, I don't think he would care about Samantha, but he'd be like, what I'm gonna do about Samantha, And speaking of Samantha, okay,
I hate her too, bro.
So we see Kaito saying all these goodbyes, like you just stated, right? He goes to Erica's house. Erica has the little boy who he's really grown fond of, and they seem to have a little relationship. They've been playing samurai sword this whole entire time, and he gives him a samurai sword, like a little toy plastic one, to say, I hope you're
protect
safe.
Yourself.
This is to protect yourself while you're out there. And I guess that's the end of their relationship in a closed story. And then he goes over, the last place he goes to is to the club to see Samantha. He's like, chilling, hanging on the wall, smoking a cigarette like a noir movie, right? And I'm like, look at that guy, looking smooth. And he tells Samantha, I gotta go. She's like, well, can you come in the club for a little bit? And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, she want him to come in the club for his blood in there. You want him to clean up? Like, what's happening? And then they give each other this weird look, and then we cut, and they out here getting it in. And I'm like,
getting it in.
Huh? I'm like,
so what are you doing?
What about Erica? Did you do this with Erica before you left too? No, right? So you just, all right. But I feel like Erica's relationship was more like a home, stable conversation type relationship too. Him and Samantha have always been this weird, unspoken love, lust, passion type relationship. Like somebody you always wanted to be with, but you couldn't be with because
Right.
all these other rules and stipulations, because essentially he worked for her during this time. So now that he don't and he's leaving, they decided to take it one step further. And
but they used to hook up prior though. They just reconnected in this one instance because we discovered what 2 episodes ago that him and Samantha would bump uglies every so often. So they bumping uglies again. But I don't know if you caught this, and maybe it's just me being a perv sometimes. But when my man Sato
you're not
took
gonna
the
say
ring
it.
off,
I think I know.
When my man Sato took the ring off,
I was like, "What's
to finagle her?" He didn't want the ring dirty.
He was struggling. I think he was struggling though. I was like,
saw that, right?
I was like, oh man. I was like,
put it on the counter. It was like, and then his hands down here.
I was like, I'm confused. I'm confused with what's going on. I think that was one of the craziest parts of the episode. I'm like,
it just looked awkward.
It's taking a while.
Looking like an awkward Skinamax scene. Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure a lot of people are going to be watching this episode and they're going to go to it and see it and be like, oh, maybe this was taking a while. And I don't think we're wrong. We both saw it. Then it's like, hey, got to be something there at this point.
Got to be something there.
So of course the episode gets ready to, last few minutes in the episode, and we see Jake jump on the plane. We don't really know where he's going. Oh, we kind of suspect
we do.
Where
he's going
because he had a plane ticket earlier in the episode to go back to Missouri, I think for his dad's birthday, right?
Dad's birthday, yeah. Because originally he says he wasn't going earlier in the episode.
Right, because work was too busy. I mean, work was busy as crap. Like it was crazy stuff going on, and he doesn't want to be the one to miss a story. Let's be honest.
Of course.
Like that's his whole thing is I got to be in the paper. So he decides, you know what? I'm out of here. I'm going to leave. I need to basically clear my mind and get out of this city because it is completely driving me crazy. Especially when he doesn't feel like he's in power. I think that's the problem. He does have a power complex. When he's not fully in charge of a situation, he's like, I gotta run, because that's probably why he left his family, in Missouri in the first place. So he decides to get on a plane. Last thing we see is him boarding the plane, but then we get a cutscene and it goes back to Katagiri, who's at his house. I think he pulls out like a beer out of the fridge or something. He's drinking something out of the fridge, right? And we can hear like some rattling or some moving in the background, and he turns around and we just see a guy walking in. A dude looked kind of creepy. I thought he's beat up at first, and then he walked in and he has his hands raised, and you can see the tattoo from the shooter, supposedly the shooters that shot and killed Ishida. Just one.
That Samantha identified earlier in the episode.
Right. That they were looking for the specific tattoo this whole entire time, and this person just shows up inside Ishida Katagiri's house.
Yes.
Katagiri, he got to do better with these locks, because there's a lot of people showing up in his house though. This is not the first time somebody just popped up on his property and just like leaving notes and taking pictures, point blank range pictures of his children right in their face. And I'm like, come on, we got to do better here. But he basically asks Katagiri, can you help me? I need help. So that's where the episode kind of cuts there. And is there any type of speculations or anything you think was going to happen probably in this next episode coming up in 7?
I think we're gonna get closer to who killed Ishida, who ordered the hit, because I think that's what we're trying to figure out, because they had mentioned there were 2 shooters. One of them's already dead with the tattoos. There was 2 guys with that matching tattoo. So one dude's already dead. So this guy that walks up in Katagiri's house, he wants to go under police protection. Right. Which, if we learned anything with Katagiri's family, there is no such thing as police protection. So and not for nothing, my man looked a little too pretty to be like, out here in the streets with his little part in his hair.
Yeah, like eyebrows, done everything.
He's like a little too coiffed.
Look at you.
You gonna get got. He gonna get got. And what we didn't cover also briefly was there was a stare down in the bathroom between Katagiri and Tozawa.
Tozawa, right? Yeah.
And it was tense, man, because I don't know if Tozawa blinks. I haven't noticed if he blinks at all, but he stayed looking like he's an angry villain from a Marvel movie. He does not move. He is staunch like bang.
Right.
And I think Katagiri's at the end of his rope because he thinks Tozawa's trying to kill his family. Yeah. So you saw he was about to throw them hands in the bathroom. So I'm really curious to see where Katagiri goes from here, because, like we said, he's at his wit's end. So if he's going to protect this dude, and he has this, Katagiri has this code of justice because this might be his best chance to get Tozawa, if Tozawa is indeed in charge of this. Now, my theory is Tozawa and Hayama are in on this together. I think they're in on this together. Some weird power play. Hey, you get rid of the old man. I'll be your puppet. You just leave me be, you know, so I could look good on paper and make that bread. So I think they might be in it together, but I'd be really interested to see where Katagiri goes from here, because he's gone from don't start none, won't be none, to he's nervous and scared to get involved. And now he's, what is it, like the man pushed too far and saying, okay, I got nothing to lose now because now y'all coming after my family. Yeah. So has he finally, you know, rediscovered that spark? So we'll see.
Yeah, I think those are really great predictions, bro. I honestly second all of those, to be honest with you. But I'm also thinking about Sato as well, right? So I'm thinking about the context of Sato talking to everybody and saying his goodbye, saying like, hey, I'm leaving. But what if he's not really leaving, right? What if he's saying goodbye because, like you said, he's going to go on this suicide mission to take out Hayama. And he knows this is going to be the last thing he's going to be able to do. So he wants to be able to do whatever you want with Samantha, tell Erica and her son goodbye, you know, cut off contacts with Jake and all this stuff. And then maybe he might go rogue, you know, go crazy and ballistic on Hayama. So I'm like, oh man, that would be a crazy, I mean, it's a crazy prediction, but with this show, I don't think anything is out of the question at this point. If you had to rate this episode, what would you rate it though?
We doing out of 5?
Out of 5, yeah.
4.5.
Okay. Yeah, I would give it a 4.5 too. It's definitely one of the better episodes. There wasn't tons and tons of action, but I think answering a lot of the questions that we had for the past couple episodes definitely helped us kind of gravitate more into this season and kind of like really enjoy it. Did we miss anything? I think that's it, right? I mean, I
think we hit everything, man.
Yeah, I think that is all the cue points. Everybody at home, make sure you go check out Tokyo Vice Season 2, Episode 6 on Max, premiering on March 7th. And if you guys like more content like this, go ahead and check us out at biggoldbelt.com. Make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that notification button so you can be the first ones to know about new videos that we drop every week. Until next time, peace.